to the entertainer talking sports.
What is going on, everybody? Back at it with another, New York Mets video. Obviously, usually I do New York Giants videos, as you guys know, but I do like to cover the Mets whenever I can. I'm a huge baseball fan. Hasn't been much to cover as we haven't had a season, but the season is supposedly going to get back into the fold, and I think it's important. I think it's important for people to have something to watch rather than feeling the need to go outside. And baseball is a big part of the summer, especially obviously if you're a baseball fan. And I am a huge New York Mets fan, so I cannot wait to see them get back in action. And we'll have to wait and see, in terms of the preseason games and everything else, spring training games, I should say, to see how it all works out. I'm excited about this New York Mets team. I was excited about this New York Mets team when baseball was supposed to start back in April. I think they have a lot of good young talent. They definitely went on that hot streak in the second half of last season. Obviously, Noah Syndergaard going down doesn't help, but this is still a team with a lot of potential. They definitely beefed up that bullpen with Betances. They got a pretty good rotation even without Syndergaard after the acquisition of Stroman last year. Obviously, Degrom's probably the best pitcher in baseball, and they have, a very good, strong, young lineup with emerging players such as Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil, Michael Conforto. Returning sluggers such as Cespedes, we hope he's back and maybe could DH. I'll jump into some of the new rules tomorrow. I'm going to do a video on that as well, I believe, tomorrow. But in this video, I'm going to focus on the New York Mets schedule. And it's definitely pretty challenging. Normally you wouldn't play, 33% of your schedule against the American League East. But due to the, the state of events and the way things are right now, they're trying to limit travel. So they're having teams play teams that are close to where they're from, which is why the National League East will be playing the American League East for 33% of their games. All the other games will be from within division. And when you really think about it, you look at the American League East, you got really strong teams. The Red Sox, the Yankees, obviously the Rays, the Orioles, not that good. So that's definitely a benefit. Of course, the Mets only play them 4 times. So we didn't get the best of luck there, but the Yankees and Red Sox are great. And they're definitely going to be a big challenge. But I will say the National League East is not pushovers. Outside of the Mets, the American League East will have to worry about the Braves and the Phillies, who definitely have a very strong baseball team, along with the Nationals, obviously the defending champions. And the Marlins, they're a bit of a pushover. But I think based on the schedule, it's probably going to be hard for anybody in the National League East to make the playoffs if it is not through the division. It is an absolutely brutal schedule, but it's the same schedule everybody else plays. So let's jump into the Mets schedule. Let's take a look at their early schedule, which is really challenging. There was an excerpt on metsblog.com that talked about just how hard the Mets schedule is up till August 6th. And then, we'll go over the whole schedule. But if you look there, it says, here is the Mets' entire schedule, who have the toughest schedule through August 6th with a .571 winning percentage. That's, of course, based off of last year. And when you look at it, they opened the season home against the Atlanta Braves, who are no pushover. They've been a very good team the last few years, and they've always been a thorn in the New York Mets side. Then they got Boston for 2 at Fenway Park. Then they come back to New York for 2 more home. So it's a 4-game set against the Red Sox. Then they play the Braves again in Atlanta. So their first, 11 games are against some really good teams. And then the Nationals, like I said, the defending champions in Washington. Their first 13 games, the Mets will be lucky if they win 7 of them. I mean, that's really tough. They got to find a way to hover around 500. Then they got an off day. Then let's just scroll down a bit. Then you head to Miami, which is their first, pretty easy series there. 3-game series, August 7th to the 9th at home. Then they play the Nationals for the first time for 4 games home. Then they travel to Philadelphia at the Marlins. So you're talking, if you count the Braves game, you're talking strictly National League East from July 31st all the way to August 20th. You're talking about nearly a month's worth of games just within your division. That is definitely the crucial part of the schedule. Obviously, like I said, they're going to be playing mainly in division, but that stretch of games is specifically in division. Then they play the Yankees for the first time, which is always a really exciting, battle, the Subway Series. That'll tee off August 21st to the 23rd, with the New York Mets being at home for those 3. And then they will play the Yankees a week later in the Bronx for 3 more games. And so 6 of their 60 games are against the New York Yankees. That's 10% of their schedule. And most people would tell you that the Yankees probably have the most talented team in the sport. So schedule makers didn't do the Mets any favors. Then they play the Marlins again. Then, like I said, that Yankees game. Then the Orioles, which is 2 games they should win in Baltimore. The Phillies for 3, the Orioles for 4 rather, the Orioles for 2 more. Then they play the Blue Jays for the first time in mid-September, before finishing off with the Phillies, Braves, Rays, and the Nationals, throughout the end of September. So I just want to go over their schedule real quick, man. I like I said, I think it's pretty cut and dry. You're playing the National League East and you're playing the American League East. They're not playing anybody else, so they'll have familiarity with the teams they're playing, but you're talking about playing some of the best teams the sport has to offer. I thought as a Mets fan going in that it was going to be tough enough making the playoffs rather, because of the division that we play in. I think every team is definitely a 90-win plus type team outside of the Marlins in a 162-game schedule. I think they're all really talented. I thought that the Mets were just in the best division in the sport. Now, you got them going up against the American League East, which poses 2 huge threats with the Red Sox and the Yankees. And that's all they play. They don't play some of the weaker divisions in Major League Baseball. So it'll definitely be a challenge for the Mets, but I'm just excited to have baseball back. And the Mets have the type of team, if they could get into the playoffs, even if it's a wild card, with that pitching staff, with Degrom at the top and that bullpen and this young emerging lineup, they do have the type of team that you probably would not want to see come October. And I'm just excited. I think this is an opportunity for baseball really to gain traction in terms of popularity. Obviously, it's not a popular sport with the younger generation. Kids nowadays seem to like basketball and baseball the most, as well as soccer. And baseball, by all accounts, seems to be a dying sport. Well, I think this is an opportunity to gain some popularity, because with everything that's going on in the world right now, you look at baseball, it's a sport that plays every day. And it's a sport that I think people could gravitate towards when the games mean a lot more. And they do right now. In a normal season, you'd be playing 162 games. You're talking about a 60-game schedule, which is about a third of the season, a little more than a third of the season. So the way I look at it is each game is almost like a series in a regular, during a regular length schedule of 162 games, because obviously a series consists of 3 games. Now you're playing 1/3 of the games that you normally do. So a single game, if you win, is almost like sweeping an opponent, if that's the way you want to look at it. And every game will mean a lot. It's almost like having 30 teams in a pennant race, from August 1st. August baseball is when things always heat up, and now every team has an equal opportunity for the last 2 months. Obviously, I wish we had a full schedule, but it will definitely be exciting for every fan base, because anybody could get hot for a month. I mean, I've seen some of the worst teams in baseball have a 20-win month. So everybody has an opportunity to make the playoffs. It'll definitely add to some parity, and you may not get the best teams that make the playoffs. I still think the cream will rise to the top. I expect teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees to be playing in October, but you never know. You could definitely get off to a slow start, and the team that obviously gets off to a strong start will have the upper hand. It's a shortened season, and teams got to make the most out of it. Hopefully the Mets come out prepared. I can't wait to see what we got. I just can't wait to see baseball back in the fold. The Mets notoriously actually start off really strong. You go back a couple of years ago in which they won, mid-70s in terms of games, but they won like 13 out of their first 14. If the Mets could have something like that early on, maybe it propels them to a playoff berth and maybe winning the National League East. But it will not be easy with the teams that they have lined up on their schedule. The Mets will have to make the most out of it, though. Can't wait to see baseball get back into the fold. Hopefully you guys are excited as I am. Like I said, I'll be streaming a lot of the games. I'll definitely have some more baseball content up on the channel, whenever I can. I don't know if I'm going to have a video every day, but I'll definitely have at least a few videos a week talking about my Mets. And hopefully if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell. As always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe, drop a comment, maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.